If God is for us, then who the is against us? Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot.
Welcome to the Wealth Mindset with Garnier. Listen, as always, I hope you had a productive week in your journey to create wealth. And my goal is always simple, not to help you grow wealth, not to help you build wealth, but to help you walk in wealth, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. To take the things that God has already given you and use those to create a life of purpose so that wealth is more than just what you acquire. Wealth is who you become. You are the wealth. It's not your investments. It's not your business. It's not your real estate. It is you. And before you have any of those things, you have a unique and specific set of talents, abilities, gifts, ideas, habits, disciplines, and inclinations that form the basis of everything that you do in this world. And once you tap into that, you start to build wealth in your life. So again, you are the wealth. Listen, first things first, if you like my message, if you like my content, please follow me on all social media platforms at JD Garnier or Garnier JD. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. You can also buy my new book, The Art of Diversity Selling, How to Transcend Societal Differences in Business, at my website, jdgarnier.com. That's www.jdgarnier.com. The only reason that we doing any of this stuff, working, saving, investing, starting businesses, the whole purpose is that we can accumulate resources to take care of ourselves and the people that we care about. But when those things are not aligned, it creates chaos in our lives. When we mismanage our resources, the things that we truly care about suffer. And when we prioritize the wrong things, the people that we care about suffer. Now, I keep driving the point home that the wealth mindset is more than just about making good financial decisions. It's about making good life decisions. Now, just recently, I was watching television, which I rarely do, and I was watching reruns of Ayanna Van Zandt Fix My Life. And I just so happened to see this episode where she interviewed this black woman who won over $180 million. And I hear people say all the time, man, if I could just win the lottery, it'll change my life. If I just win the lottery, all my problems would be solved. And I'm sitting here watching this show, and this woman's life is in shambles. She won over $180 million, and her home was in disarray. She had junk and trash everywhere. She was depressed. She had broken relationships with her family. She had all of the money that anybody could ever ask for, and yet she was living a life that nobody would want. And as I was sitting there watching it, it was confirmation for me that it can't just be about the money. $180 million later, and she was in the same position as if when she had nothing. She was confused. She was unhappy. She was overwhelmed. She was paranoid. She was uncertain, and she was insecure. Now, these are character traits that we normally associate with people that are broke. And yet this woman has all of these money, all of these resources, all of these assets, and she was in that position. And then I got to thinking, a lot of our athletes, a lot of our entertainers are confused, unhappy, overwhelmed, paranoid, uncertain, and insecure. And if money can't fix that, then what is the solution? It's the mind. The reason why fast riches can't bring the same peace of mind that slow wealth can is the same reason why microwave food never tastes as good as home cooking. The preparation period has to align with the results. You compromise the integrity of the process when you speed up the time, and the results never come out the same. Whether you're overnight success, whether you go viral, whether you're willing to do anything for fame, what happens is it don't feel the same. It does not taste the same. Rich looks like wealth, but it does not feel like it. It has the same ingredients, but the results are not the same. When you put something in the oven, all of those ingredients are embedded into one another. Once they combine, they can't be separated. They become a part of one another. The seasoning, the topping, the base, the flavor are all indistinguishable because they become a part of one another. When you have a wealth mindset, that mindset becomes embedded into your resources, into your outlook, into how you control and manage everything in your life. And that mindset cannot be separated from the way that you think about everything. They become aligned. That's the difference between being rich and being wealthy. See, I always say rich is the abundance of resources and money. You have a lot of money, you have a lot of resources, you can be rich. You can go viral and get rich. You can be an overnight success and win the lottery and get rich. Your business can be so successful that you make millions of dollars and you can get rich. But as long as those resources, as long as those assets are connected to your time, you can't get wealthy. Because if you stop working, the resources stop. The income stops. The assets stop. And so if rich is the abundance of resources and money, wealth is the separation of time and money. You don't become wealthy until your resources, until your assets, until your income increases without the requirement of your time, without you having to work for it. In other words, what I normally tell people is the $1 million that you have to work for is worth less than the $1 million that's working for you. That's the difference between being rich and being wealthy. And unfortunately, we look for the fast way to get it. We look for the quick way to get to the resources instead of going through the process. The only way to accumulate assets, the only way for your income, for your assets, for your money to increase without you having to work for it is that you have to own, control, and manage things of value. You have to be a steward of resources. Because if you're not working for the money, something or someone has to be doing the work for you. Those are the resources. But the ownership and possession of resources is not enough if you don't have the wisdom and understanding of how to manage those resources. So the wisdom is the asset. Oil in the ground is just a resource. It is the wisdom and the knowledge of how to refine it and how to repurpose it for use that makes it an asset. The value of $1 lies in the hands of the holder. If you give $1 to a child, that child is probably going to tear it up or put it in his mouth because a 1-year-old child has no understanding of how to use that dollar. So it's wasted. If you give a 5-year-old a $5 bill, they might not tear it up because they know that it holds some value, but it's not going to mean anything to them because they don't really understand what that value means. So they might play with it or put it in their piggy bank. If you take a $100 bill and give it to a 15-year-old, guess what? They understand the value, but they don't know how to use it. They don't know how to put it to work. So most likely they're going to spend it on something unnecessary. They know what it can buy, but they don't understand what it can do. With all of these examples, they either didn't understand what they had, they didn't know the value of what they had, or they didn't know what to do with what they had. How many of us have resources and we don't understand how to handle those resources? You don't know what to do with the value that you have. You don't know how to use what you already have. And I'm sitting here watching this show with this woman that won $180 million. And she's still in the same condition that she was in when she was broke, because she had no idea how to use the value. She had no wisdom on how to use the resources. That's why 75% of athletes go broke within 5 years of retirement. They have resources with no wisdom on how to use it or manage it. It takes a certain level of wisdom for that 1-year-old to understand the resources that they have. It takes a certain level of wisdom for that 5-year-old to understand the value of the resources they have. It takes a certain level of wisdom for that 15-year-old to understand the resources that they have. But you think that you're ready to handle winning the lottery with no preparation whatsoever. The wisdom is the resource. Let's take money out of it. Let's say you won the lottery, but instead of $186 million, it was 180 million acres of farmland. You never ran a farm in your life. You never lived on a farm. You don't know the first thing about taking care of a farm. Do you think that you have the knowledge and wisdom to maintain that land? Or will your mismanagement of it cause you or cause that land to be wasted? Wealth requires wisdom. Your wisdom and your wealth have to be in alignment, because if they're not in alignment, something is going to get wasted. If you have wisdom and no wealth, the result is a waste of the wisdom. But if you have wealth and no wisdom, the result is a waste of the wealth. So those things have to be in alignment with one another. And so what happens is, in the beginning, your time is spent understanding, accumulating, and owning resources, using your human capital. The first resource that you ever have is your human capital, the sum total of your abilities, talents, and gifts. Your mind is your human capital. Your talents, your work ethic, your ideas, your education, your leadership abilities, your compassion. Your human capital is the first resource that you have. And if the first and most valuable resource that you have is something that you don't understand, is something that you waste, is something that you don't know how to use, you're wasting yourself. You're not reaching your full potential. And so no amount of money is going to change that. No outside resources are going to change that. If you don't know who you are, how can you be wealthy? If you don't understand your value, how can you understand the value of the resources that you control? And so if you're going to develop a wealth mindset, you're going to have to dig deep. You're going to have to be honest with yourself. You mismanaging your financial resources because you're mismanaging yourself. Your life is in chaos. Your priorities are out of line. You are not using your talents. Your work ethic is horrible. You're scared to take a chance. You are connected to the wrong people. You are living an unhealthy life. All of that's going on. And you think money is supposed to change that. You think resources from the outside are going to change that. It don't work like that. Now, I'm not saying your life needs to be perfect, but if you are seeking financial wealth, you will have to evaluate and reconfigure the things that are going on in your life that are preventing you from your potential. Your work ethic, fear, self-esteem, selfishness, impatience, discipline. An investment strategy is not going to change that. A real estate deal is not going to solve your problem. A financial miracle is not going to rectify that. At the end of the day, the value is you. And you have to be able to cultivate and nurture your own value. You are the asset. The money is just a resource. If the asset is not handled properly, the resources are diminished. The land is just an asset. The crops are just the resource. But if you don't handle the land properly, the resources die. The business is the asset. The stocks are just the resource. If the business is not running properly, the stocks are worthless. And so the $180 million question that I have for you, if you didn't change your work ethic, if nothing changed in your life, if you didn't improve in any way, if you didn't improve your discipline, if you didn't change your circle, if you did not commit to educating and improving yourself, how ready would you be to handle $180 million? How ready would you be to handle $1 million? $100,000? Your expectation and your preparation must match. I know you keep wanting me to give you the 5 secrets, the top 3 ways, the easiest path to build wealth. But I got to give you the truth. You will have to change the way that you think and the way that you live to prepare yourself for the life that you want. Walking in wealth is about your actions. And if your mind is not ready, your resources are not going to last. If we never develop the understanding of what we have, if we don't know the value of what we have, if we don't know how to use what we have, it is all going to be wasted, misused, and mismanaged. We can't live our lives like that. And so again, it has to be about more than money. When I think about the things that our community needs, so many times we go straight to the money. Money is not going to repair broken relationships. Money is not going to repair unhealed hearts. Money does not connect us. It only makes us business partners. It makes our relationship transactional. And so it has to be deeper than that. The connection has to be deeper than that. We have to look beyond the physical resources to what God has already given us. And that's where the wealth mindset starts.